Hello, everyone. I will invite now Dr. Bettina Kahil and Mr. Naveen Chopra to please come on the panel. And shortly, Mr. Dilendra Kumar will be joining us in 5 minutes. So we'll start the panel and then we can continue with him. Thank you. Dr. Bettina Kahil, Professor and Dean, Lausanne University School of Law, Switzerland. She is a professor in social law, in European social law, and has been teaching since 1996. And she has vast experience in this field, and today she'll be glad to discuss what are the problems, what is the European structure of education in Switzerland, and what kind of challenges the international student faces when they go to abroad to study. So this is what, and various other things, and if you all have any questions, please you can ask her for that. Thank you. And Mr. Naveen Chopra is the director of N. Chopra's Consultation, which is an end-to-end global education. The name says it all, so he'll be giving us an idea about the details. So we can start the panel.
Thank you very much. So I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, if everybody has been here yesterday. I already participated to a panel about it was the item doing business globally. So if I can repeat something what I said yesterday, I really would like to say thank you to the Indian Bar Association for inviting my law school to be able to come here and take part of this wonderful conference. I listened very carefully yesterday to all your different speeches, and there was especially in the beginning, I think it was the former president of the Indian Bar Association who was talking about the importance of your constitution, the Constitution of India from 1949. By the way, the German constitution is from the same year, so I was really pleased to remember that also. What is to observe when you go to Europe for studies? So I see a lot of young lawyers here in this room. That's very nice. So first of all, in terms of constitution, I think one thing that's very important in Europe too, and it seems it's the same here, is the constitutional law, because the individual is really in the law systems in Europe one of the most, it is the most important part of the law. The individual and the people who have the rights, constitutional rights, for instance, of data protection, equal rights, that's also a subject we will discuss later. So if you come study to Europe, I think you will discover that constitutional and also administrative law, which is more concrete than the constitutional law, is very, very important in legal education. And one of the reasons, it's also because we have this European integration, and the Court of Justice of the European Union gives some kind of guidelines to all European countries in terms of protection of individual rights. Maybe the Court of Justice of the European Union sometimes is more important than the Court of Human Rights, because we have lots of different subjects which are covered by the treaties, by the EU treaties, more than the Convention of Human Rights, European Convention of Human Rights. So constitutional law, you have that here wonderfully, and you will find that also in every university in Europe. Then maybe another thing I would like to say first is that I think you are really in advanced in comparison to us, because if you come to Europe, of course, you will meet people who speak English, well, like me a little bit, but you will also meet a lot of people who speak Portuguese, Spanish, German, French, Italian, Czech, so you have lots of languages, and of course every country has its own legal system. and its own language. I mean, it's all the laws in Germany are in German. I haven't seen any. I don't know if you agree, Axel, but as far as I know, there's no even federal law which would be translated in English. So you have to learn German if you want to study in Germany, or you have to speak French and study in French if you come to Lausanne, because all our rules are in French. Of course, they are also translated in German because Switzerland is a country with 3 languages. We have every law in Italian, in French, and in German. But still, if you study in Lausanne, everything will be in French. So here in India, you are in advance because you speak English so wonderfully. And I appreciated a lot that we could communicate so well, and I could understand nearly everything. If I say nearly, that's not your fault, it's really my fault because I have to progress in English. But it's really nice to come here and to learn about the Indian legal system without speaking a single word of your languages, because I learned that you have several languages and because you have different communities. So I think when you come to Europe, you have this chance to have the common language, but it's highly recommended then to learn at least one European language, one of the national languages. The most spoken language in Europe for the moment, is German. More people speak German than English. English, of course, as a second language, as a foreign language, everybody speaks, but the mother tongue most spoken in Europe is German, with, I think, about 90 million or even more people, because we're Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and even different parts in Italy where people speak German. So I think that is a good recommendation. Maybe, well, I don't want to say you don't go to the UK, because I think it's wonderful also to go to the UK. But if you want to have something more, then go to France or go to Switzerland or Italy or Germany to have a second language. And then, of course, if you have 2 foreign languages, you can have more possibility to speak with more people, which is very, I think, important for lawyers. I don't know if I should stop maybe here for the moment and give the floor to my colleague.
Well, I'm going to take off from...
And then just add something.
I'm going to take off from something that you just said. The defining quality of the Indian civilization, that it is an inclusive civilization. And I'm not sure how many people, including my own Indian friends, recognize that. If you think about it, Christ was born here. Within 100 years, Christianity was here, and we made it our own. The Prophet Muhammad was born in the 6th century, 7th century. Islam was in India. We made it our own. The Brits came along, and here I am, born, bred, brought up in India, speaking your language or the English language like it is my own, with no shame in it. We make everything our own. We are like a sponge. We absorb every influence that has come here. We are also the only civilization which, during its entire natural history, has never, ever stepped outside of its natural boundaries in conquest or aggression. Unlike Western or European civilizations that tend to be exclusive, I'm exclusive, I'm better than you. Having said that, we live in the global village. It's a living reality now. It was talked about in the 60s when I was growing up as an emerging fact. It is a statement of fact today. Regardless of how different societies react in terms of the, shall we say, invasion of other cultures, fact is that technology has brought other cultures into our living rooms, into our streets, into our malls, and indeed into our homes, into our legal system, in the way that we interact with each other, in the way that we deal with each other, in the way that we do business with each other. It has become extraordinarily important for all of us, really, not just Indians, to understand each other's legal systems, how we function, how we dovetail, and how we can smoothen the wrinkles that might exist either due to cultural differences or due to legal differences. I have one statement which a lot of my senior Indian colleagues might take umbrage at, but it's a statement of fact. And that fact is that, by and large, apart from personal law in India, we are still governed by the British. The rule books that govern us, the civil services, IAS, IPS, our legal system, was all written by the British. There has been no attempt by any government, by any bureaucrat, to examine clause by clause, item by item, all of the things that govern us, and to change those that do not apply anymore. An outstanding case in point, which is right now all over in the press, is the defamation law. It's been written by a foreign power to protect its interests. It's not in sync with the Indian culture or with what India does. I see there's some students here, and speaking on legal education, process of change in an established system is always slow, always has been. It is still the case, although I have to say that the pace of change having accelerated to a point where it's not really possible to predict what's going to be the state of play in any aspect of our lives, a year or two down the track, forget about 20 years down the track, is forcing change down our throats at a speed faster than we would like to perhaps accept or acknowledge. I only hope that in forums such as this, that discussions other than the set frames are also carried out. We talk of out-of-the-box thinking, we talk out-of-the-box actions. How many actually do so? How many actually devote their time in thinking so? Most of us try and push positions that are well established in our heads on other people so they can believe those positions without having the openness of mind to listen to what other people have to say or what the other scenarios are doing so. For my Indian friends who are looking at law and legal education, one small observation, I was sitting at the back and observing some of the students who wanted to say something they didn't. You're law students. If you don't speak up, you shouldn't be in law. You have to speak up, that you have to drop that shyness. And there is no, in my mind, it's a very personal thing, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Okay? There is no stupid question. And if the person who's hearing the question thinks it's a stupid question, that's that person's problem, it's not yours. Okay? So ask your questions fearlessly, because that's the only way you're going to learn. And while all the legal education that you're doing in India is excellent, and there are lots of new programs being added, think innovatively, think about yourself, think about the state of play in the legal system before you start deciding where you want to place yourself. And in that thinking, which must have some depth and breadth in it, take your decisions, which will carry you forward at a faster pace than is evident from some of the discussion that happened earlier out here. It's all about excellence at the beginning and end of the day, seriously, in any endeavor of life. You push for excellence, everything else follows. And excellence is a lot to do with dropping your lazy habits. It's about creating the right habit frameworks. It's about reading. It's about getting to know other people. It's about having all the centers of your head open. The minute you close your mind to something, you are actually closing the door to your own growth. You have to keep an open mind. And we live in a day and age where we are all on a constant learning curve, continuous learning curve. The day our learning curve stops is the day we start to professionally die. I don't care what age we are, whether we are young or old, where we are placed in our professions. The day our learning curve stops, or you stop your learning curve because nobody else can, is the day that you will start to professionally die. There are lots of options for those of you who are well off to go overseas and get some, at least a top up. It doesn't have to. You don't have to go overseas to get it either. Okay, but I know for a fact that in this country there are relative shortages in things like intellectual property, although that space is filling up fast because lots of people are coming into it. Corporate law, commercial law, maritime law. There's a number of areas that you can be looking at. Dispute resolution, arbitration. There are a large number of areas where you can play. The canvas is very large. And a young lady there said about the system. you know what, you're going to change the system through your questions, through your quest, and through your activism. All right, I don't know. I see life as something where all of us, without exception, influence each other all the time, to a larger or greater extent. When you're in a conversation with somebody, you are influencing that person in some way, shape, or form, and that person is influencing you in some way, shape, or form. So if you have something to say it. Don't worry about how the other person is going to react. That is a part of the education, the word education in the broadest sense. Education is all about learning how to learn, educating yourself, capital S. It's a never-ending story. I think I'd like to open that to discussion, if I may. So.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My introduction, I'm Neelendra Kumar. I'm heading the Amity Law School now. My background was with the military, Indian Army, where I served for over 40 years. And I was the Judge Advocate General for the Army. And after my retirement, separation from the Army, then I took over the Amity Law School. We have about 1,500 plus students. I have a full-time faculty of around 50. We run undergraduate programs for the 5 years in the form of BLLB, BBLLB, BCom LLB. We also, a couple of years back, started 3 years law degree program. And apart from that, we have LLM. I suppose you are aware that last year, the University Grants Commission permitted introduction of 1 year LLM in India. We had a huge population going beyond India to pursue these programs, which may not be necessary now. And we started, although the universities were given the option to have 2 years program, 3 years program. Delhi has a part-time, Delhi University part-time 3 years law degree program, LLM. So we chose to take up this 1 year